You can actually become a French citizen in 5 years. I'm not joking, it is not banter. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching my last video. Thanks for liking my last video. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please do that now. You know what to do. The button is right there. Like this video, share it with your friends. By the time you're done watching this video, I'm sure that you'll agree with me that you need to like this video and share it with your family and your friends and even your enemies. Let's get into it. So, you want to jackpot? I have good news for you because you can actually become a French citizen in 5 years. 5 years. And I will explain. So a lot of people have been asking me, oh, what are the opportunities in France after school? Can I stay back? Are there immigration pathways? Blah, blah, blah. So the thing is, France does not have immigration pathways like the UK, like Canada, like that. However, you can actually become a citizen in a relatively short time, which I think is great. Of course, studying abroad does not have to result in immigration if that's not what you're interested in. I completely get that. However, if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, maybe because of the way Nigeria is right now. So I'm using Nigeria as an example because that's where I'm from, or wherever country that you're currently in. Whatever your reasons are valid. You're an adult and you owe it to yourself to choose the easiest, softest life that you can afford, especially if you have the resources. So can you stay in France at the end of your studies? The short answer is yes, you can absolutely stay in France at the end of your studies. And there are two ways that you can do this. First is if you get a job that pays you at least 1.5 times the minimum wage, monthly minimum wage in France, then you can apply for a work permit and stay back in the country. As of 2022, the monthly minimum wage in France is 2,405 euros, something like that. So all you have to do is get a job that pays you at least that, and then you can apply for a work permit to remain in the country. However, if you're not able to get that kind of job, then there is also a special kind of visa that's called the Job Search or Business Creation Residence Permit. Caveat though, this particular visa type is only open to graduates of master's degrees in France or people who hold professional licenses. I really don't know what professional licenses mean, so I'm not really going to go into that. So this visa that lets you stay back to look for a job or set up a business is not for people who do short courses. And this visa is valid for 1 year and it is not renewable. I think that 1 year is enough time for you to look for a job or start a business or whatever. So that's kind of fair enough. And if you're lucky to actually find a job before you finish your master's degree, then you can just apply directly for the work permit without even needing this particular visa. Now, we've talked about you staying back in the country and getting some permit that lets you look for a job. But big question, can you get English speaking jobs in France? Answer again is yes. There are lots of English speaking jobs, especially if you are in maybe the major cities like Lyon, Paris, Marseille, places like that. But I would advise that you actually start searching early. You might have heard that French people like to take their time. Yes, French people do take their sweet time with everything, including recruitments. So want to start looking, if possible, as soon as you land in the country, as soon as you're enrolled in school, you want to start looking. I've seen videos on YouTube where people talked about the average recruitment process in France being about 7 to 9 months. I can't understand it, but I mean, it looks like that's actually what it is. If it takes that long, you definitely want to start searching early, especially if you're looking for English speaking jobs, because of course the competition is going to be high. There'll be a lot of other English speakers that are searching for those kinds of jobs, so you want to start searching earlier so you give room for the recruitment process, the interviews, the shortlisting, and whatever else has to go on before you actually get your contract. In France, there are two types of work contract. There is the fixed term contract, the CDD, which is the most popular, by the way. And CDD means contract de travail à durée déterminée, which is like the end date is already predetermined. And then there's the CDI, which is the permanent contract, and that means contract de travail à durée indéterminée. So what's the difference? The CDD is the most popular because you might have heard or you might remember if you watched Emily in Paris, where Sylvie threatened to fire Emily, and our colleagues were actually telling her not to worry because the paperwork was going to take so long, everybody was going to be frustrated, and everybody would forget about it. And I think that that's actually the case in France. Nobody can just wake up and be like, you're fired, bye bye. So what they do instead is to just have fixed term contracts. Of course, that's not the only reason. It could be that you're relieving somebody who's gone on maternity leave, or who has gone on a study leave, or who is on sabbatical for whatever reason. Or it could just be that they only need someone in this particular role for a period of time. This particular CDD contract can range between 6 months to 18 months or 24 months, something like that. And of course, they're always renewable. So even if it's a 6 month contract, doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be out of job in 6 months. It could be renewed, and sometimes you can even transition from that into a CDI contract that is permanent. However, if you have a CDI contract, it means that there is no end date that is preset, and you essentially get all the benefits of being an employee that the company can possibly give you. Also note that in France, work permits, whether it's a CDD or a CDI, are renewable every year. So even if you have a CDI contract, nobody is going to give you an indefinite work permit. You still have to renew every year. And when you're renewing your work permit, you have to renew with your work contract, and your employer also has to be part of that application, just so that the government is assured that there's nothing fishy going on. The document is not forged, so the employer has to be a part of that application to say, oh, this person actually works here, and then that just ties you over for the next year. And if by the time you need to renew, if you're in another employment, then your new employer will just be the one that is part of that process. I think they do that on some level for like quality control, just so that they know that you are in the system and you are still employed and you're not a burden to the system. So now to the sweet part. How do you become a French citizen? You can become a French citizen in 5 years, like I said before, and the conditions are pretty decent, to be very honest. So there are 4 criteria that you need to meet to be eligible. One is that you have to have lived in the country continuously for 5 years. Continuously doesn't mean that you haven't left the country, or you can't go on vacation, or you can't travel or something. It just means that you haven't lived somewhere else for long periods of time in that time. So you can't be off for maybe 6 months or 1 year or something like that. So you have to have lived continuously in the country for 5 years. And the second thing is that you have to have a valid resident permit at the time of your application, which means that this annual work permit that we just talked about has to be valid. Essentially, it means that you are still in employment or you're still running your own business. The third thing is that you have to have sufficient resources. Again, either you're in employment and you have regular source of income, or you have savings, or you have a windfall or something. Sufficient resources, essentially. And the last thing is that you have to be at least a B1 level in French, because of course, why would you become a French citizen if you don't speak French? I think that these are not like crazy demands or anything, and I think that 5 years is actually a fair enough time to become a citizen, not a permanent resident. Let's get that clear. Like, you're actually applying for citizenship. That's not bad at all. So yeah, I hope that this has been helpful to you. I'm going to link resources in the description box for where you can read more about this. And if there's anything in particular you'd like me to talk about next, let me know, and I'll do my best to focus on that in my next video. Please share this with your friends, your family members, share to your WhatsApp stories, share on your social media. Just help me push this forward. So I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.